Max was the king of Ricard. Who will sponsor Ferrari? Now it's all about front wings and suspension. I don't know what's going on. What a weekend for Honda. That was incredible. We'll go through that. Abu Dhabi is changing, and the ugly, the bad, and the good. That's what I'll go through. Oh, listen, one more thing. Don't start predicting who's going to be the world champion. We've got at least 15 races to go. There's tons of points. We know that it's wonderful at the moment. But all of these people going, oh, Max is now the new world champion. Come on, man. Just calm down. Welcome to the F1 PitBox.
This is the F1 PitBox with Sasha Martinengo and Gary Fermato.
Oh, very big welcome to the show. If you were watching last week, you shouldn't be too surprised that we actually had an eventful French Grand Prix, because Gary and I were talking about it and we said what a spectacular Grand Prix it is. Gary, what did you think of it? Oh, unfortunately, Gary's not here. Somebody's got to work, and he's actually stuck at work. So, Gary, we're going to miss you, but we got a lot to get through. Now, please, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on YouTube, comment, get in touch with us, send a whole lot of whatever, even questions. You can send that through to me as well. I would love to hear your opinions, as well as you can get in touch with us on the WhatsApp group. We have a WhatsApp group. It's only dedicated to Formula One, and the number is coming up on your screen. There it is, 073-879-4498. And if you're out of South Africa, just go +27 and then leave out the 0. Let's leave it up there for a while, Fritz, just so that people can get used to it. So the circuit all of a sudden gave us something quite spectacular. The cars going around Paul Ricard were sensational. Just the speed that they achieve, and there were some very interesting stats that came out of this Grand Prix. So we'll go through that during the course of today as well, during the course of tonight. Okay, I think that's enough time for the WhatsApp group. But first of all, what a weekend it was for Honda. Okay, you might be going, well, yeah, Red Bull, Honda. No, it goes a little bit further than that. Look at this. Honda won the Formula One race. Marc Marquez is back. What a spectacular victory at the Sachsenring. And then Honda won in the IndyCar race as well. So isn't it just frustrating to think that Honda are actually pulling out of Formula One? That worries me a little bit. And it doesn't sit well with me, and I'm a little bit concerned that we're not going to have Honda in Formula One. However, we will have, who are the other people? Oh, well, we're going to have Honda in a way, but of course it'll be, Red Bull taking over all of the IP. But I'm very, very sad to see Honda leaving Formula One yet again. Now, the next very interesting thing, just to talk a little bit about the MotoGP. Of course, we've got the Binder brothers who race in that series. Darren Binder, you got to say, a terrific fight back. Had a bit of an altercation in qualifying. Started off, was up to about 6th or 7th place. Had to do a pit drive-through penalty. Got through that. A couple other guys crashed in front of him, but eventually finished in the points. So superb drive for him. And you got to say, Darren Binder, he's got to get that one lap pace better. That's all you got to say, because after that, he's one of the quickest when it comes to race pace. But a brilliant 4th position for him. And KTM nearly making it a clean sweep. The one in Moto 3, the one in Moto 2, and Oliveira was just behind Marquez. So superb from Brad Binder and Darren Binder over the weekend when it comes to MotoGP. before we get to Formula One as well, DTM started last weekend. First round was at Monza. Now, DTM has changed a little bit. It's gone from the 2-liter bespoke engines, highly technical engines, and it's gone into a GT3 category of racing. And we've got the two Van der Linde brothers who are competing in that. On Saturday, Kelvin finished in 6th place. Sheldon didn't have too much of a great race. But on Sunday, Kelvin van der Linde got his first pole in DTM and then raced magnificently to secure his first win. At one stage, it was a 1-2 for the Van der Linde brothers, which was looking just like, wow, can this actually be happening? But unfortunately, Sheldon dropped back to 4th. I think that BMW that he drives is a little bit of a handful going around the corners. But well done, Kelvin van der Linde. Your first victory in DTM, thoroughly deserved. It was just so wonderful to watch as well. It was so great to have everything sort of available to us. So I was just so happy that we could watch it on our TVs. Also, this weekend, W Series is starting, and unfortunately, Tasman Pepper's not there because of coronavirus and COVID-19 protocols. But they're going to have their first race in Austria as a sort of precursor to the Formula One. And apparently that's going to be on SABC. So we are going to be able to see that as well. So there's some really, really spectacular racing to look forward to. MotoGP in Assen in the Netherlands is always spectacular. So that's going to be a tremendous amount of fun. Coming up, let's talk Formula One. All right, back to me. So I'm here on my own because Gary, unfortunately, is not here. So I've got to just check out what everything's happening on all of my live feeds. I've got some of them over here, and I'm going to try and get it on my my little, what do you call these things? Mobile. There we go. Oh, here we go. No, okay, I've got it all up. Thank you. How's it, Roland, Emil, Johnny, Rian, Manny, everybody getting in touch so far this evening. Great to have you along for the ride. If you have any questions, of course, fire them away on the comments line. Otherwise, use that WhatsApp line as well, and I'll try and answer them for you. Now, let's talk a little bit about some news that's happening in the world of Formula One. I've been very, very fortunate enough to go to two Abu Dhabi races, and I went to the first ever Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. The place is spectacular. The facilities are magnificent. But the one thing that we have found over the years is it's a very difficult track in terms of racing. And we want to see racing. It has taken them quite a long time. I think it's close on 10 years. This is the 10th year. But there are changes. As you can see, the changes there are at turns 4 and 5. Before it used to have a little bit of a chicane. Now it's quite a severe left-handed hairpin. So that should promote some kind of aggressive driving for the drivers. And then this is really cool. At turns 11, 12, and 13, as you can see, it had that funny little kink, then a short little dart. Now we have like a parabolica kind of a turn at 11, 12, 13, and 14. And the wonderful thing is it's slightly banked as well. Will this lead to better racing? Well, I don't know. I suppose we'll have to wait and see until we get there. Colin Thomas has just posed a very, very interesting question. He says, what do you think of next year's cars? There are a lot of pictures that are going around on social media showing Formula One 2022 car spec. Now, I must be honest, Colin, I'm not entirely sure where people have found these cars or rendered them in some kind of way, but I can tell you there is not one Formula One team that will allow anybody to see their design of their 2022 car. So it might be a terrific rendering and the cars might look similar to what you're seeing on the internet, but I am very cautious on what is out there at present. So I'm not going to comment on what those cars look like. How's it, Fani? We missed your show, my friend. I know they're taking a little bit of a holiday. Thelma, lovely to hear. Lovely to have you on online as well, which is terrific. She's watching all the way from over the seas. Okay, that's the first little bit of news on Abu Dhabi. Now, also, this Grand Prix, very, very special. As you can see, I'm wearing my Alfa Romeo jacket. Today, the 24th of June, is the 111th birthday of Alfa Romeo. And as you know, I'm a huge, huge fan. This is the livery of the cars that Antonio Giovinazzi and Kimi Räikkönen will be driving this weekend. A great celebration for the team. And believe you me, and that's also a lovely picture as well. One of the iconic Alfa Romeo GTVs. The Giulia GTVs from years back. But special livery for the Alfa Romeo cars, and hopefully they're going to be a lot quicker than they were last weekend. That is for sure. Roland says that livery is spectacular. Very, very cool. Hello from Saigon in Vietnam, Alan Schniggers. That's superb. And Gavin Koppel, my very good friend and co-broadcaster on LM Radio, watching all the way from New York. So jealous, so jealous. Lovely. Thanks very much for getting in touch. All right, that is Alfa Romeo. Here is a big point of, I think, of concern. For many, many years, Scuderia Ferrari have had a huge association, both in promotion and, of course, from a financial point of view, with PMI. That is Philip Morris International. Must be 10, 12 years ago, tobacco bans came into effect, and slowly but surely we lost all of the Camels, the Mild Sevens, the Marlboros, the Wests, you name it. All of tobacco money has filtered out. On that picture that you saw there, the rear wing Mission Win Now, that is from Philip Morris. This weekend, or last weekend in France, of course, you didn't see the MW because of tobacco legislation. The contract with Scuderia Ferrari and PMI comes to an end at the end of this year. Now, they have been financing the Scuderia team for many, many years. Yes, Ferrari have a tremendous amount of other sponsors, but they've been the real key player. How does PMI continue in the world of Formula One, where they can do no publicity whatsoever, because surely the MW is going to fall away? So there are negotiations going on at present. But imagine if all of a sudden Ferrari get a major sponsor that comes in and says, well, cool, we'll sponsor you, but we want to change the livery. Imagine Ferrari not being red. Think about that. We shall have to see. Now, something that's not on the guys' sheets at the moment. I picked up something, Mick Schumacher for the Haas team, and of course we know how they are struggling. Mick Schumacher is sitting strangely in the cockpit of his car since the beginning of the season. Apparently the seat is straight, but he's not positioned correctly. Apparently they're going to fix this after the summer break. So he says it's not affecting him too much, but we'll see exactly what happens. Colin says, yeah, great news about Silverstone. Oh, man, the ticket I wanted is sadly sold, but looking forward to going. Colin, I'm so envious. I'm sure you've been there. If you haven't been there before, it is such a magnificent place. So enjoy it. Lost connection for a moment. Okay. Why are Bottas come so short lately in Formula One racing? He seems very unhappy. Okay, Rion, he says very unhappy. Don't worry. I'll get to that question in a short while. Rika says Ferrari not red is a sacrilege. I hear you, Rika, but you know that at one stage they actually raced in a blue car. Yeah, I'll do that as a trivia question one of these days. Next, Mercedes have come out and said that Red Bull have such huge engine improvement. And how is this possible? Well, I'm asking the question, how is this possible? Don't forget, prior to the French Grand Prix, we had all of these flexi tests on the rear wing of all of the teams. And Mercedes thought that this was a huge benefit to Red Bull. France clearly showed that it was not that much of a benefit to Red Bull. Now they're saying, well, Honda have definitely upped their game. Let's just remind everybody, there cannot be any development of engines. The engines that you have are there. You can perfect the management system, get the recharging of the batteries a little bit better, but you cannot do anything to the internal combustion engine of the Formula One car because of restrictions. So it's just clearly that Honda have been managing and have really figured out what to do in order to be as competitive as Mercedes, which is great. The other thing to speak about between Red Bull and Mercedes is Mercedes put up the big stink about the rear wings. Okay, now all of a sudden Red Bull have said, okay, well, you played it, we've played your game. Now they've requested the FIA to check the flexibility of the front wing. This is not something new, my friends. This has been going on for years and years and years when it comes to the flexing of the front wings. So I can tell you that it's going to be another set of tests by the FIA, and people might have to adjust their front wings accordingly. But I don't think it's going to be that significant. But we'll see. I think there's a nice little bit of banter between them. Now, a little bit of trivia time for you. You can answer and submit your comments on Facebook or on YouTube or otherwise on the WhatsApp line. How did Nigel Mansell get the nickname Il Leone by the Italian press? When he raced for Ferrari, there was a time where all of a sudden the Italian press called Nigel Mansell Il Leone. Okay, how did that come about? That is your trivia for this evening. Okay, coming up next, let's look back at the French Grand Prix.
This is Formula One.
All right, Rian says he spun off and got back on the road. Nope, but good guess. I'll give you the answer in a short while. How did Nigel Mansell get the wonderful endearing term, Il Leone, the lion, by the Italian press? Stephen Bain, before we get into the French Grand Prix, is there any news on Michael Schumacher? Been hearing stories about that he's out of a coma, just trying to figure out whether it's true or false. Stephen, great question. I actually got sent an article, or not an article, some comments regarding Michael Schumacher, saying that he's out of a coma and his family's bankrupt. It's just nonsense. Unfortunately for us as fans, and I personally would love to know more about Michael Schumacher's condition, but I have to respect the privacy. And they have said from day one that the only information we will get about Michael Schumacher's condition will come directly from the family. Anything else is not true. Okay. Toy says, wasn't Leone given to him by Enzo? Nope, it was not actually, but good guess. Now, excuse me, the French Grand Prix. Usually people go the good, the bad, the ugly, which is a great piece of music, which is used for camel and which is tobacco, but now we can't do it, so I go the ugly, the bad, and the good. Let's start off with the ugly. The ugly has to be from the French Grand Prix, Ferrari, Haas, Alfa Romeo. What's the thing in common? Ferrari engine, Ferrari gearbox, and maybe rear wing. It was not a good day for Ferrari. Both of their drivers qualified in 5th and 7th out of the points. Haas, unfortunately, as we know, are going to be at the back, but they were severely at the back. And Alfa Romeo just couldn't do anything. It seems that the French Grand Prix, all of them suffered with massive tyre degradation. I mean, Charles Leclerc eventually went in to do another pit stop. That's why he finished so far down the pecking order. And even on fresh tyres, he was way off the pace of the front runners. So they've got a lot of work to do. They have come out and said that they're not working on this car whatsoever because their focus is on 2022. It's really a little bit sad because we do need improvements from the other teams, and you'll get to understand that in a couple of moments. Haas Alfa Romeo struggled. Okay. The bad of the French Grand Prix, and this is why we do need some development. Lando Norris, Danny Ricciardo, Pierre Gasly, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Lance Stroll, from 5th through until 10th, all scoring points, wonderful. The bad thing about this is that Lando Norris, who finished in 5th, was 50 seconds behind Max Verstappen. 50 seconds behind Max Verstappen. And yes, we've seen this in Formula One for years and years and years, but we really expected things to be a little bit closer. I did not anticipate that the gap was going to be 50 seconds. At this weekend's Styrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, it might even be more. Very, very worrying. However, there were improvements by McLaren, and as you could see how much better they were than Ferrari. And you've got to believe that battle between Ferrari and McLaren is going to continue throughout the whole season. But McLaren have done some updates, and we saw that this weekend. They've changed their little wings on the nose of the car, and that all of a sudden seems to have helped them. Ferrari doing nothing, and look what happened to them. Now, let's go to the good from the French Grand Prix. First up, Aston Martin. Superb. It's like a lease of life for Sebastian Vettel. He's had 2 great races in a row now. He seems to be getting to understand how that car works. The car was much better at this Grand Prix than I think a lot of people expected, considering qualifying, although Lance Stroll started at the back of the pack and got into the points. So there's definitely something about this Aston Martin car. So I'm expecting good things as the season continues as well. Another good thing this weekend, Fernando Alonso. Again, 2 races in a row in the points, showing his class. And with a car that really, and I called it last week, I said, watch out for Alpine. Really looked good until qualifying came. Weren't that fantastic. And in the race, well, there or thereabouts. But the experience and the craftsmanship of Fernando Alonso was something really, really special to watch over this past weekend. Now, another good thing this weekend, of course, was McLaren. And wonderful to see Lando Norris and Danny Ricciardo just doing terrific stuff in that McLaren team. You can feel, and if you watch some of the press conferences and the little chats that they have with the drivers, you can see that Danny Ricciardo is more uncomfortable. From the jovial side at the beginning of the season, it's getting more and more uncomfortable with the fact that Lando just seems to have his number all of the time. So it just shows you how good Lando Norris is, because we know Danny Ricciardo is no slouch. But it's wonderful to see McLaren up there. So happy to see them performing so well. And yeah, I think we've still got lots to see from McLaren this year. Another good thing, well, what can I say? Pierre Gasly. This guy has just come into his own. After being dropped from Red Bull, won his first Grand Prix in Monza, been on the podium now a few more times, in a car that honestly is running that midfield with Aston Martin around about there, and is doing a phenomenal job. Yuki Tsunoda had a good drive. He did. He really had a good race. But Pierre Gasly is right up there, and I would classify him honestly in the top 5 drivers in Formula One right now. Other 2, you got to say, Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez, also part of the good. Bottas was racy right up there, and from his first pit stop onwards, all of a sudden the tyres weren't working. We heard him get irate with his team, saying, "I told you it was going to be a 2-stop strategy." Why they didn't even bring Bottas in right at the end to get him to try and get the the bonus point for the fastest lap. I don't know, unless they did call him in and he said, no, I'm just going to go and finish the race. Could well have happened, because had he gone in, he wouldn't have lost his fourth place, because he was so far ahead of Lando Norris. Sergio Perez, we said it at the previous Grand Prix and we called it for this one. If he's up there, he's going to assist Max Verstappen, and that's what his job is. However, his contract doesn't say that he cannot race against Max Verstappen. And I get that 100%, Sergio. But this is also about the continuation of a championship. There's very little in the points. And don't forget, one DNF and it changes the whole ball game. He knows what he has to do. He's getting better and better when it comes to qualifying. And we know in race conditions, Sergio Perez is definitely one of the best. Now, before we get on to something else, let's just go through some of the questions. Will next year close the gap? Colin, we all hope, from your mouth to whoever's ears, we all hope that 2022 is going to be a significant closing of all of the teams. There are a few things that you have to consider. Sometimes a team just hits the holy grail, as we saw in the hybrid era with Mercedes. But there are some other mitigating factors that should see everyone close up a lot, and that is the budget cap. And this budget cap is already taking effect. Those who are crashing into walls or getting spun out and having to change parts, these cost money and all come out of a budget cap. They all get audited, we believe, but 2022 should be quite a lot different. Let's go through Il Leone, his fearless driving style. Gillian and Sotto Corona, you were on there, but my question is, how did he get the name? Okay, what is it that he did to get the name? Il Leone, given to Nigel by the Ferrari fans because of how brave he was on the track driving. Yes, but I'm asking how. What did he do? Ferrari tyres, what is happening there? Zach, very good question. It's amazing. Ferrari always used to work very well in the warmer and hotter conditions. And all of a sudden, this year, and France was pretty hot conditions, the car didn't work too well. What is going to happen this weekend with weather? We'll get to that. Couple of interesting statistics that have come out over the last 3 or 4 days. I was quite amazed that this was only Max's 5th pole position. If you think that the guy's been in Formula One for quite a while, and everyone's going, well, how bad is the hybrid domination by Mercedes being? Well, look at that on your screen. This is Red Bull's 8th pole position since 2014, and 5 of them have been from Max Verstappen. Mercedes, 112 pole positions. That's nearly 5 times the next team. And that, of course, is Ferrari. Racing Point have had 1, Williams have had 1. But that stat just gives you an idea of the kind of domination that has been there. The next statistic is something that blew my mind. And before you put it out, okay, it's there. There we go. Okay, we've taken it away fast enough. Formula One started in 1950. Okay, it's been going for over 1,000 odd races. How many times do you think a race has finished with all of the cars not having a DNF? And I sat there and I thought, wow, I mean, as we've progressed, especially from the 2000s, the reliability has been incredible. There must be 50, 60 races. 10 races since 1950 in Formula One history without a single DNF. 1961, the Dutch Grand Prix, and then all of a sudden into the 2000s. So for 44 years, every single race in Formula One had a DNF. And the last one was the Austrian Grand Prix 2019. But this one, I mean, it's just incredible that we've only had 10. Mario Robson, well done. You got that one right. Got that right as well. Interesting people. Interesting answers coming in for why he was called Il Leone. Mario Robson says, "Oh no, Mario got it right 10 times." He won on debut for Ferrari, and they called him Il Leone. Vaughan, he did win on a debut, but that's not why they called him Il Leone. There's something to do with Mansell's big moustache. Unbelievable. Vaughan says we're going to say more than 5%. Well, if you sit there and think 10 races out of 1,000, that's like 0.1% or something crazy. Okay. Yeah, the top 10. Oh, it was, however, the French Grand Prix. Max Verstappen was unbelievable, and so was Red Bull. His pace, his strategy, and even more pace. He made a mistake at turn 1, and it allowed Lewis Hamilton to get through, but he's just like a tiger. Got into the front with the undercut, and it was amazing. I think there were even teams that came out and said, I don't understand how Max got the undercut. Anybody who watches a Formula One Grand Prix and watches the live timing, the first car that went in was Charles Leclerc. They were having a shocking race, but his first lap time out was significantly faster than anybody else. Red Bull saw it, jumped in it, got the undercut, came out in front of Lewis Hamilton. And that's how they went, and they raced hard. It was wonderful to watch. You had Lewis Hamilton chasing Max Verstappen, Valtteri Bottas right behind that. And unfortunately, you had Sergio Perez, who was even further behind, but he was working on a slightly different strategy. Max Verstappen went onto his radio and said, listen, at this pace, there's no chance I'm going to be able to finish this race on these tires. And Red Bull decided, you know what, let's give it a go. Brought him into the pits, changed his tires, and said, Max, now you're going to have to chase. I'll be honest, it reminded me of Michael Schumacher. He went in and pumped lap after lap after lap after lap until he just brought that gap down. Yes, he was assisted by his teammate Sergio Perez to get past. He got past Valtteri Bottas essentially and at a critical time. And thereafterwards, he just chased down Lewis Hamilton. And eventually, he had the much better tires. He did have the DRS, which assisted him, got past, and of course, went on to win. It was a brilliant drive from Max Verstappen, and also a brilliant drive from Lewis Hamilton. It's just great to see two opposing teams and opposing drivers fighting against each other in Formula One again. So wonderful drive. The top 10 finishes from the Grand Prix. Just to go through it again, of course, there we go. Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Sergio Perez on the podium again. Wonderful to see. Valtteri Bottas, of course, not happy. Norris, Ricciardo, Gasly, Alonso, Vettel, and Stroll. Brilliant to see. No Ferrari. Big problem. Okay, I will give you the answer to my trivia question, and we'll start looking forward to the Styrian Grand Prix in a couple of seconds from now. Okay, welcome back. Well, we didn't go anywhere. I just had a sip of juice. Very nice. Grape juice. Wonderful stuff. Couple of questions that are coming through here. Mario, please explain to me why Ferrari struggled so much in France. Forget the tires. Mario, well, it could well be something to do with that rear wing. Perhaps they had even a more flexible rear wing than Red Bull. But I think it was clearly down to the tires. There seems to be some kind of an issue where it's really, their downforce levels are really affecting the grip on the front tires specifically. So that means they just don't get the turn in and they really struggle. They're just sliding all over the place. Let's see what happens this weekend. Lynn says you're dead right. They were both fantastic. It was. Okay, Rika's giving us the forecast for this weekend weather-wise. I'll do that in a short while. Angelo, lovely to hear from you. Hi, Sasha. Everyone watching Ferrari are in Dwang. Well, we'll see. We'll see this weekend. Okay, how did Nigel Mansell get the nickname Il Leone by the Italian press? It's such a great question, and thank you very much for all of the answers that have come through. Yes, of course, Mansell did win on debut for Ferrari, and that made Enzo, no, it was 1990. Enzo died 1988. I'm just getting all of my bearings right here. He died in 88. Mansell was there in Prost was there in 1990. Anyway, it wasn't Enzo Ferrari. And it wasn't that he was just a fearless driver. There was a specific incident that happened at the Mexico Grand Prix in 1990 when Nigel Mansell passed Gerhard Berger in the McLaren around the outside of the corner. And from there, the Italian press, Il Leone. I would love to play you the clip of exactly what happened, but unfortunately, if we do that, then the Formula One closes down our channel. Quite bizarre how it works. But there it is. Okay, so that's how he got it. Il Leone from Nigel Mansell. Rika says, the weather. There is Nigel Mansell. Look at that moustache. Wonderful. Wonderful man as well. Hi, Aitan. Nice to have you along. Rika's mentioned it already. She's been checking out. This weekend, tomorrow is free practice. What's the weather going to do this weekend? Looks like rain, my friends. It does look like rain. There we go. Friday should be very hot, 32 degrees. Saturday, there's an 80% chance of rain, 70% chance of rain on Sunday and Saturday, and 70% chance of rain on Sunday. However, we all know if there's one job of the world where you can get it wrong every single time and still have a job, it's a weather reporter. So expect these things to change. There is one concern that I do have, and Matt Bishop, who we spoke to on the show a couple of weeks ago, posted a picture last night. He was having dinner in the Styrian region of Austria. And it was wonderful and warm during the day. While he was having dinner, it started pouring with rain, but it hailed. And that's one thing that could well stop a race. So let's hope that we don't have any hail this coming weekend. Tyres, of course, always debatable when it comes to the world of Formula One, and everyone likes to discuss them. This weekend, don't forget, we've got a double header in Austria. This is called the Styrian Grand Prix. Next weekend, it's the Austrian Grand Prix. And the wonderful thing is the tires are different. We've got the C2, the C3, and the C4, which are the hardest of the three different compounds that are going to be used by the teams this weekend. Next weekend, it is going to be different. So that's what we can expect. And of course, we'll have the intermediate and the full wet tires if it does rain this weekend. Oh, all right. Just to let you know, if you are on the WhatsApp group, and I'm going to ask Fritz to bring up that telephone number there as well. You can join the WhatsApp group and you can be part of it. We've posted the video of Mansell overtaking Gerhard Berger in Mexico, and that's where he got Il Leone. And very, very big thanks to Rory, who posted it up on the group as well. Before we get into the circuit itself, I just want to go through a couple of questions here. Matthew says Aston Martin in the wet will be great. Listen, I know Vettel is great in the wet, so let's see. How will Red Bull cope without the Honda factory backing next year? Tony, it's such a great question. I think all of us are wondering how it's going to work. But it has to be understood that once Red Bull made the decision to stay with Honda in terms of the engine package going forward, they would, one would assume, be bringing a ton of Honda engineers over to their facility in the UK. And I'm sure they will also have a complement in Japan in terms of their engineering expertise as well. The engine for 2022 through to end of 2025 is not going to be vastly different to what it is now. Okay, so there will be some changes and we will see everyone a lot closer, but the development there afterwards is not going to be as significant as it has been. Maybe explained it already. How do Red Bull develop their Honda motor without Honda factory? I think I've just, there we go, just said that. The weather has been very odd up this way. That's from Thelma. Thank you very much. 2 wet races at the Red Bull Ring. That would be awesome. Johan, I agree with you. Let's have a look at the Styrian Grand Prix circuit, the Red Bull Ring. Of course, it used to be called the A1 Ring many, many years ago. And then Dietrich Mateschitz and Red Bull bought it, redid the whole circuit, and we've seen some spectacular racing there. There are some great overtaking opportunities. It's set in such a beautiful setting, and of course it's got mountains, and anywhere there are mountains, as we see in Spa and we see in Austria, the weather can change on in a couple of minutes, so expect something a little bit different. Okay. I wanted to say, turning, hold on a second, I wrote something here, but I should have been a doctor because I have no idea what I've written. Greater is closer. A good question. Would a reverse race on this track make sense? So let's just put the circuit back up on your screen, and then we can have a look at it. It doesn't seem too complicated, but as we've discussed before, the runoff areas for any Formula One circuit or any Grand Prix, any circuit actually in the world, are dictated to by the direction that the cars travel. So if they were running in a reverse condition, those runoff areas where they might have to brake harder would not be sufficient if there was some kind of an accident. So in theory, of course, it always sounds wonderful, but in practice, not so easy. But one more. If we can get that graphics up there one more time, Fritz, because I've worked out what I'm doing with my handwriting. Turn 12. Now, we all have been worried about track limits over the past couple of races, and everyone's getting annoyed by how these track limits are working. But at turn 12, okay, and they've got 12, there's more than the 10 corners over here. But at turn 10, turn 9 and 10, the gravel traps have been brought in closer. So the guys, if they go off, are going to get into the gravel quite a lot easier. So I think this should be quite fun. Final thing to look at is, of course, when we can watch all of the racing this weekend, and that racing is going to be taking place from 11:30. We've got the track times that you can watch. Of course, you can watch it on F1 TV or on whatever channel you're going to be watching around the world. 11:30 to 12:30 tomorrow, 3 until 4 for free practice 2, free practice 3, 12 until 1 on Saturday, qualifying 3 until 4, and then of course the race will start at 3 p.m. These are all South African times, so if you are watching from abroad, just check your schedule. You can get that on f1.com. Before we say goodbye and give you our Alfa Romeo obligatory picture of the day and the fact that it's their 111th birthday, last couple of questions over here. Thelma says, you made me laugh. Okay, good. I'm glad I did. Zakangura says, the launch of the Ferrari 296 GTB today. Also, beautiful, beautiful car. 2020, Hamilton out-qualified the rest of the field by 1.2 seconds in the wet. I do remember that, Vayner. It was spectacular. It really was. So let's see what happens this weekend. Do the elevations on the track have any impact on the car's fuel use? Brilliant question, Ricard. Don't forget, besides Mexico, this Grand Prix in Austria is the second highest in terms of height above sea level. So the cars will be slightly more down on power, meaning that going up a hill, you are going to have to use a little bit more fuel. Whether it's going to affect them all depends on maybe the pace at the front. You know, if guys are pushing each other hard, it means you're going to be using a lot more fuel. If you are in the front and you have a good gap behind you, you do have the opportunity to run at the pace that you need to, as opposed to, so in a way you're basically driving the slowest but the fastest that you have to go in order to win the race. I hope that helps you with the answer. And Colin says, that's good grape juice. Yes, it is. Thank you very much. It is divine. So there we go. Thanks very much, as always, for joining. If you want to, you can always join the WhatsApp group. I will check it a little bit later, and from there I will ask you if you want to join the Formula One group itself, and then add you accordingly. I'm just going to ask Fritz to put that number back up on the screen one more time, and you can check it out. Nico says, will Checo's contract be extended? Albon stay in GT3 DTM. Nico, I'm sure Checo Perez is pushing hard to get a contract extension. He's done a superb job so far. I suppose a couple more races we'll have to see. And what's going to happen to Alex Albon? Only time will tell. There's the WhatsApp group number. +27 73 879 4498. All you do is send a message to the WhatsApp group saying, hi, I'm Rika and I'd like to join the Formula One group. From there, you'll get added onto the Formula One group. Only Formula One stuff is on that WhatsApp group. We don't accept any criticisms of drivers, any of that kind of stuff. If you get naughty or nasty on it, unfortunately, we will kick you out. There we go. Okay, Greg saying, please can you add me to the group? Greg, there we go. Please just send us a WhatsApp and we'll do that. Rika, you can do that as well. What is the difference between a GTV and a GT Junior? Okay, there we go. That, I think, is a GTV. I'll have to get Toy, he'll have to tell me. They are so, they're all Julias, but some of them are GTVs and some of them were GT Juniors. The GT Junior was a 1300 engine in the car, but I'll get some Alfa Romeo aficionados and they'll sort that out. Was that our obligatory Alfa Romeo picture of the day? I think we have another one. It will come. Okay, listen, thank you very much. Enjoy the motorsport this weekend. I think it is going to be spectacular. We leave you with the Alfa Romeo obligatory picture of the day from Henk, Fritz, myself, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. Let's go racing.